I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been married to Emily for about 8 years now. We've got a 5-year-old son, Noah, and for the most part I thought we had a pretty normal life. Emily was always a bit bitchy. She's the kind of woman who can be charming when she wants to be, but most of the time she's just rude, sarcastic, and likes to make everything about herself. Still, I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Things started feeling off a few months ago. Little things that I brushed off at first. She'd stay out later than usual, avoid my questions, or get defensive if I caught her texting. I'd notice her phone buzzing constantly, and she'd hide it or toss it on the counter like it was hot. She'd give me those flirty smirks, tell me I was being paranoid or that I was imagining things. Honestly, I wanted to believe her, but something about her behavior was different. It was like she was walking on eggshells around me, and I didn't know why. Then came the night of Noah's birthday party. I remember it clearly because it was supposed to be a happy occasion. All our friends, family, the kids running around, cake, balloons, normal stuff. Emily was in a good mood that day, joking around, impressing everyone with her sharp wit. But I saw her talking to Tom, our next-door neighbor, more than she should have. They didn't seem to be just chatting about the barbecue or the kids. There was a certain look in her eyes, a kind of flirtation I'd never seen before. I didn't want to make a scene. I thought maybe I was overreacting, but after the party I started noticing little things. Her phone kept lighting up, she was more secretive than usual, and I'd catch her sneaking glances at her messages when she thought I wasn't looking. I even saw her delete texts, quick and frantic, like she didn't want me to see something. That's when I started feeling uneasy, like I was missing something huge. One night, I finally decided to check her phone while she was in the shower. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I wasn't planning to snoop forever. I just wanted to see if there was anything suspicious. I didn't expect what I found. Her messages with Tom were there, all right, flirty, suggestive, just enough to make me sick. But then just as I started reading, her phone screen flickered and the messages vanished. I blinked, thinking maybe I was imagining things. But then I noticed it again, her phone acting weird, like the messages were being erased or hidden. That's when I knew I'd caught her in something she clearly didn't want me to see. I sat there, stunned, staring at her phone with my heart pounding in my chest. The messages were gone, but I knew what I had seen. I'd caught her, no doubt about it. Emily had been sneaking around with Tom. The way she was acting, defensive, evasive, made sense now. All those little lies, the secret glances, the way she would suddenly get cold or block her phone when I got close. It all clicked into place. I didn't wake her up or confront her right then. Instead, I kept my cool, but inside I was boiling. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. How long had this been going on? Was it just flirtation, or was it something more? I kept telling myself, keep calm, think this through. But honestly, all I wanted was to tear her apart, to make her admit everything. The next day, I decided I couldn't keep pretending like I hadn't seen anything. I needed to talk to her, get some answers. I waited until she was distracted with Noah, then I brought her into the living room. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk she always got when she thought she was winning, like she was in control. I could see the annoyance in her eyes when I brought up her phone, asked her who Tom really was and why she kept deleting messages. Her lips twisted and she started lying right away. She said it was just a stupid flirt, that Tom was harmless and I was just overreacting, that it didn't mean anything. I told her I wasn't born yesterday. I told her I knew exactly what she was doing and I wasn't going to pretend like it was okay. She shrugged, rolled her eyes, and spat out that I was being paranoid, that I was imagining things because I didn't trust her. She called me insecure, said she was just talking to a friend and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. But I could see it in her eyes. She knew she was caught and she was trying to spin it in her favor. I felt the rage simmering under my skin, but I kept my voice steady. I told her I wanted the truth, honestly, no more bullshit. That if she was done with me, just say it. If she wanted to cheat, fine, just don't lie about it. That's when she snapped back, saying I was being overdramatic, that I was being paranoid, and that she didn't need to explain herself to me. She stormed out of the room, leaving me there with my fists clenched, and a sinking feeling that my marriage was crumbling before my eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, trying to make sense of how I missed all the signs for so long. I felt stupid, betrayed, and heartbroken. It was like my whole world had shifted in an instant. I kept thinking about how Emily always looked at Tom at that party, the way she lied about who she'd been talking to, and the fact that I had no idea how deep this went. I knew then I had to do something, but I didn't know what. All I knew was that I was done being blind, and the betrayal hit me harder than I ever thought possible. The days that followed were a roller coaster I never signed up for. I tried to act normal around Emily, going through the motions of work, parenting, pretending everything was fine. But inside, I was anything but fine. My mind kept circling back to that night, to the messages I saw vanish, to her cold, dismissive attitude when I confronted her. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just a fool, played for a fool by the woman I thought I knew. One evening, I decided I needed to get some real answers. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, just to catch her in the act if she was sneaking around again. I wasn't proud of spying, but I didn't trust her anymore, and I needed proof that would end the lying once and for all. I also started digging through her social media accounts and her emails. Yeah, I was going full detective mode, but what was I supposed to do? Act like everything was normal? No way. I was determined to find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. It didn't take long. A few nights later, I caught her. I saw her texting with Tom again late into the night. They were talking about plans, about meeting up, about sneaking around. I could see her smirk in the footage, the way she was trying to hide her phone so I wouldn't see. It was like she was daring me to find out. When I confronted her with the footage, she just rolled her eyes, told me I was paranoid and that I was making a huge deal out of nothing. That I was just jealous that she wasn't doing anything wrong. That's when I snapped. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, that I knew everything. I told her I had the footage, the proof that she'd been betraying me for months. Her face froze for a second, then she started crying, fake tears, I thought, trying to play the victim. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, that Tom was just a distraction, that she was sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it. When you're caught cheating on your husband with your neighbor and sneaking around like a damn teenager. I was furious, but I kept my voice calm. I told her this was over, no more secrets, no more lies. I told her I wanted her out of the house, that I needed space to think. She tried to spin it, of course, claiming she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that she'd never do it again. But I knew better. I saw how she looked at Tom, how she'd been lying to my face all along. I felt like a complete idiot for trusting her. That night I didn't sleep much either. I felt crushed, like I'd lost part of myself. The woman I married, the one I thought I knew, she was gone, replaced by someone cold, selfish, and manipulative. The worst part was knowing that I had been blind for so long. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I not see it coming? But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd been too much in love, too afraid to face the reality that my wife, the woman I promised to love and cherish, had been cheating on me with our neighbor all along. After I showed her the footage and told her to get out, Emily's facade cracked just a little. She looked angry, betrayed, but mostly she looked like she thought she was still in control. She started throwing around accusations, calling me paranoid, saying I was spying on her because I didn't trust her, that I was just insecure and jealous, and that I was the one ruining everything. Honestly, I was too numb to even get mad at her anymore. All I could think about was how she'd lied to my face for months, how she'd been sneaking around behind my back, and how I'd been so damn blind. She kept insisting she loved me, but her words felt hollow. She wanted to stay to fix things, but I told her I needed space. I knew I'd never trust her again, not after what I saw. I told her I wanted her gone by the end of the week, and I meant it. She threw a fit, said I was overreacting, that I was making a huge mistake. That Tom was just a stupid mistake, and she'd never do it again, but I didn't believe her, not anymore. That night I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. I felt like I'd lost my wife, my partner, and maybe even my son's future. How do you come back from something like this? How do you rebuild trust with someone who's just betrayed you so completely? I kept going back to that moment at the party, the way she looked at Tom, the way she lied about everything. It was like my whole life was a lie. I felt emptier than I ever had before. The next morning, I started making arrangements. I reached out to a lawyer, began thinking about how to handle the separation. I couldn't stay under the same roof with her. I didn't want her near my kid. I knew she'd probably try to spin this as me being crazy or insecure again, but I didn't care. I was done pretending everything was okay. I wanted her out and I wanted her gone for good. In a way, I felt relief. Not a big one, but enough to see that I was finally taking control. I'd been a fool for so long, but now I was starting to see that I deserved better. I didn't want a wife who cheated, lied, and sneered at me while doing it. I wanted honesty, loyalty, and respect. And if Emily couldn't give me that anymore, then she didn't deserve to be in my life. The betrayal cut deep, but I was starting to understand that sometimes you have to cut your losses and move on. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I moved out of the house into a small apartment nearby just so I could keep an eye on things and be close to Noah. Emily didn't make it easy. She called me every day, trying to guilt-trip me, saying she loved me, begging me to come back. She played the victim hard, acting like she was the one getting hurt, like I was the one who had betrayed her. It was almost laughable how she spun it, but inside I was just numb. The trust we once had was shattered, and I didn't see any way to fix it. I watched her with Tom for a while, saw how she still kept in contact with him, even after I made it clear I was done. She'd send flirtatious texts, and I caught her hiding her phone again. The anger started boiling up again, but I kept it in check. I knew I had to stay calm, stay focused. I wanted her to see that I was serious about ending this, about not letting her manipulate me anymore. I also kept my distance from Noah during this time, trying to shield him from the chaos, but it was hard. I saw the confusion in his eyes sometimes, how he'd ask about Mommy's friends, and it broke my heart. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Emily showed up at my new apartment crying, pleading. She said she was sorry, that she realized how much she loved me, how stupid she'd been. She begged me to give her another chance, to believe that she was done with Tom, that she would change. Honestly, I felt a flicker of hope at first. Maybe she was genuinely sorry. Maybe she'd finally see what she'd lost. But then I remembered all the lies, all the sneaking around, and I saw through her tears. I told her I needed time to think, that I couldn't just forgive her overnight. I told her she had to understand that trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. I told her she needed to leave and not come back until she was truly ready to be honest and faithful. She tried to argue, to say she loved me, but I cut her off. I stood my ground and told her that if she really loved me, she'd respect my decision. That was the turning point. She left, not happy, but knowing I was serious. The thing that hit me hardest was realizing how much I'd lost, not just my wife, but the sense of security I'd always had in my marriage. I'd always believed love was enough, that honesty and loyalty came naturally. Now I saw how fragile that trust really was, and how easy it is to lose someone you care about when you ignore the signs. It's a painful lesson, but one I needed to learn. I've come to accept that sometimes the only way to find peace is to walk away from someone who has betrayed you so deeply. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never let myself be blind again. Never. Again will I ignore the signs or pretend that betrayal doesn't cut deep. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this whole mess has changed me. I used to think love was enough to keep a marriage together, but I see now that honesty and respect are the foundation. Without those, everything else crumbles. Emily's betrayal was a wake-up call I didn't want, but I needed. It forced me to face a harsh truth. Sometimes you have to walk away from the person you love if they're not willing to be honest and loyal. I won't lie, it hurts. It hurts knowing I trusted her, and she threw it all away for a neighbor, for a fling that meant nothing in the end. But I also feel a strange sense of relief. I'm finally free from the lies, from the constant suspicion. I've learned to trust myself again, to know that I deserve better, that I don't have to settle for someone who sneaks around, manipulates, and lies just to get what she wants. My son is still my priority. Noah doesn't fully understand what's happened, but I see the confusion and sadness in his eyes sometimes. I'm doing my best to keep things stable for him because he's the only reason I stayed sane through all of this. I want him to grow up knowing that even when people betray you, you can still pick yourself up, that you can survive heartbreak and come out stronger. As for Emily, I don't know if she's truly sorry or if she'll change. Honestly, I don't care anymore. All I care about is moving on, rebuilding my life, and making sure I'm better prepared next time. Trust is hard-earned, and I learned the hard way that it's easier to lose than to keep. But I also learned that I am stronger than I thought, strong enough to walk away from something that was eating me alive. So here's what I want to say to anyone reading this. Pay attention to the signs. Don't ignore the gut feeling that something isn't right. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Because if you don't, you might end up losing everything: your happiness, your trust, yourself. And at the end of the day, the best revenge is living your life better without someone who doesn't value you. That's what I plan to do.